This Department of Justice is nothing more than a political campaign arm of the Trump administration, as led by Pam Bondi, no, as led by Donald Trump. And now we have two major examples of how the Department of Justice is being used by Donald Trump to abuse Americans and our democracy. One, Pam Bondi just announced that she is now, based on recommendations of Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, is going to empower prosecutors in her office, who's ever left, whatever prosecutors with integrity are left, and I doubt there are any, but she's authorizing the Department of Justice to open up a grand jury, to impanel a grand jury to further investigate whether the Obama administration and the Democrats were responsible for the investigation to determine whether Russia tried to help Donald Trump get elected based on phony analysis, phony evidence supplied to her, fabricated by Tulsi Gabbard. That's one. This is all about trying to further destroy the Democratic brand and try to tear down our idols, our leaders, as retribution for Donald Trump. That's what this is. Secondly, the Department of Justice, its Civil Rights Division, and other administration offices have made requests, no demands, to states, mainly Democratic states, to obtain voter information under the false guise of Voter Integrity Project. 9 different states have received demands and requests from the Department of Justice to try to get their hands on voter data as Donald Trump and his Department of Justice try to steal the next election. I tie it all together for you right here on Legal AF. The goal on Legal AF is to be your one-stop shopping for all things at the intersection, I used to say, of law and politics, but the defense of our democracy and our legal system. And we need your help to do that. And we want to have our audience match our subscriber base and vice versa. So hit that subscribe button. Let's talk about the new reporting and what it means. Again, the premise here for this hot take is that this Department of Justice is a corrupt political arm of Trump and of the Trump campaign, and they do his bidding. So let's look at these two stories. The issue about Russia's demonstrated, documented attempt to interfere with our elections, not through hacking voting machines, which is what Tulsi Gabbard is focused on. Not that, but through social media, through trolls, through co-opting Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, to try to change the hearts and minds of American voters, to put us at each other's throats, to have a seething cauldron of America to divide and conquer. That's the Russia influence campaign. It's not so juvenile and amateurish as trying to break in to voting machines and flip votes. That's what the focus is for Tulsi Gabbard. I looked at the intelligence community material. I looked at 10,000 pages that were looked at by 2 prosecutors, the Senate intelligence community and the intelligence agencies, finding that there was collusion. But she found that there was lies by the Obama administration and others about voting machines. This is, okay. The attempt by the Russians and others, Chinese included, to influence our elections is not coming through voting machines. That's the Sidney Powell craziness, that there's some vast global conspiracy through hardware and software to flip votes away from Trump. That's not the argument. Let's frame the argument properly. What the intelligence community has found is that, and what at one time what the cyber security and infrastructure agency found, is that while our election equipment is safe and that we did not have any tampering, the influence and the brainwashing over Americans was persistent and consistent. Donald Trump knows it himself. He asked the Russians to help him. Remember when he asked the Russians to go into Hillary Clinton's email server and find the quote unquote missing documents? He actually called on Russia to help him out loud at a press conference. So we have to frame the issue right. See, this administration has a nasty little habit. They have many nasty little habits, but they have a nasty little habit of trying to redefine the argument, creating what we call in in the debate world or the practical reasoning world, creating a straw man. And the straw man argument, for instance, in Epstein, is that the files are completely represented by the grand jury testimony. False. We're talking 30, 40 gigabytes of information in the Epstein files in truckloads that were reviewed. That's the Epstein files. So you see the sleight of hand that this administration tries to do. Same thing here with the Russia collusion. John Durham, who worked under Bill Barr, who worked under Donald Trump, so it was Donald Trump's special counsel, did a full investigation for almost 3.5 years. He prosecuted 2 people. He looked at all the same intelligence that Tulsi Gabbard did. And he did not prosecute Barack Obama. He did not prosecute Joe Biden. He did not prosecute Hillary Clinton. He didn't go after the Democrats that way. He went after a couple of small potatoes, and he got no convictions. I think he got 1 conviction after 4 years and tens of millions of dollars of investigative time. That was John Durham looking at the exact same evidence as Tulsi Gabbard said she reviewed. Robert Mueller, the Mueller report, same thing, concluded that there was no voting machine tampering, hacking by the Russians, but did not rule out their use of social media influence to try to change votes, change how people voted, I guess is the better way to put it. But to Tulsi Gabbard, whether it's the members of the intelligence community, James Clapper, or Brennan, CIA director, or the other intelligence directors, they all concluded, but they changed their reports, and they changed the reports because they found no tampering of the equipment by the Russians. That's not the debate. That's not the battlefield that they're redrawing for us. It's not about the equipment tampering. I will concede that there's no evidence that the Russians successfully flipped votes inside of machines. That's not the argument. The argument is, did they try to get Donald Trump elected through social media? All you got to do is go on social media and recognize that over half of what you saw on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok during the campaign in 2016, 2020 was generated by the Russians and troll farms, right? With memes and artificial intelligence later in the game to try to convince people to vote for Donald Trump or not vote for the Democrat. That is a fact. Now, what's Donald Trump done about it? Of course, he's closed the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. We don't need that anymore. He's put all of his major lackeys, political hacks, right-wing podcasters, Fox hosts, obscenely unqualified people in positions of power around him because he doesn't want any pushback. So when Pam Bondi says that Tulsi Gabbard, in doing a review of material that's been reviewed by the Senate Intelligence Committee, signed off by Marco Rubio when he was a senator, by John Durham, 4 years investigating, spending tens of millions of our dollars, appointed by a Republican, Robert Mueller before them, the intelligence community assessment, but Tulsi Gabbard found the conspiracy, the seditious conspiracy. Well, this is the phony pitch and catch. I found the conspiracy. Go out for it, Pam Bondi. Oh, long pass to Bondi. Bondi catches it. Let's open up a grand jury. No, let's not. Let's not abuse further the Department of Justice's awesome power, prosecutorial power, to go after Democrats. You got real evidence. Why don't you take time to read, Pam, the Department of Justice manual. You don't have a reasonable basis, good faith basis to open up a criminal investigation. And we don't allow prosecutors, because for political gain, to go after citizens in this country. They're going after Jack Smith because he violated the Hatch Act, an employment guideline about what you can and can't do when you're a federal employee to help influence an election. He wasn't influencing an election. He was prosecuting crime. I'll do another hot take about why that's one of the dumbest attacks ever and will backfire spectacularly on Donald Trump. So you've got that going on. At the same time, remember the theme here on this hot take, political arm of the Trump administration is the Department of Justice. You've got them going after and making demands on and using right-wing hacks to go after clerks' offices around this country and secretaries of state to try to get voter data. They think the holy grail is for them to get voter data. The Constitution provides that states, not the federal government, are responsible for election integrity, for the machines that they use, the ballots that they use, the dates and times of elections. That's all set by states. That's right in the Constitution. Yeah? That is one of their 10th Amendment powers reserved to the states. Even on federal elections. Trump doesn't like that. Started issuing an executive order in March to try to take over all of the election process, election integrity. When you hear Donald Trump use the word, I'm just doing this in the name of election integrity, you know it's the opposite. It's the opposite game. It's like Seinfeld. It's the opposite game. He's trying to corrupt the election process, the voting process. He's using Harmeet Dillon in the Department of Justice, quote unquote, civil rights division. I can't believe she goes to work every day underneath that sign. It doesn't burn, doesn't spontaneously combust upon entry. And Democratic clerks, election clerks, county clerks and all are resisting. They're telling Donald Trump and others to go jump in the lake, that they're responsible for their own election integrity, and they're not going to provide, because there's a lot of statutes that say they can't do that, they're not going to provide voter data, social security numbers, driver's license numbers to this administration. Some have, a couple have, but most haven't. And I'm going to do further reporting. I'm going to be doing an interview later today with Paul Blumenthal, investigative reporter for HuffPo, about a new Brennan Center report about Donald Trump's attempt to steal and undermine the next election and the election after that, and what we can do about it. Join me here on Legal AF later this afternoon for my exclusive interview with Paul Blumenthal of Huffington Post about this very, very important issue, and of course, what you can do about it. Till my next report, take a moment, hit that free subscribe button. It really does help. That's why I keep asking for it. If I didn't think we needed it, I would just do a hot take, trust me, without asking for support. But this is the world we live in, and with your support, we'll continue it. Until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.